everybody at HGTV. My name is Brett Anderson, proud resident of Morrisville, Pennsylvania, one of the most historical towns in the United States of America. This small town of about 9,000 people has more than your average amount of history. For example, there are 6 people that signed both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, and 2 of those 6 people were residents of this 2-square-mile town of Morrisville, and those being George Clymer, as well as the financier of the Revolution, Robert Morris. Additionally, George Washington is known to have used this as a headquarters for revolutionary battles such as the Battle of Trenton, right before they marched about 8 miles up the road to a well-known spot, Washington Crossing, where they crossed the river to a place we can almost see from here, Trenton, New Jersey. So you can tell. Now, while you think about that, I want to give you a very, very important fact that not a lot of people know. Morrisville, PA was just 2 votes away from being the United States capital. That's right, just 2 votes from being the capital of the United States of America. So while you think about that, I want to also tell you there are 4 nationally recognized historical landmarks in this 2-square-mile town. Now, we have a lot of pride here. So this is the part where you hit pause and go get your producers, go get your interns, go get the janitors, go get everybody you can, because when HGTV put out the idea for a town makeover, this was the type of place you had in mind. This town of 9,000 people couldn't be more passionate. So let's go and take a look around the town, because this is not just an opportunity to revitalize a small town. This is an opportunity to revitalize a piece of American history. So let's go take a tour, come back here, and we'll talk to some of Morrisville's finest in a little while. We're here at one of Morrisville's National Historic Landmarks. This 58-mile canal path, completed in 1832, major hub for transportation. In fact, most used in the Civil War era to move coal from mule-drawn boats up and down the canal, moving about 1 million pounds of coal per year, as well as other supplies, building supplies and materials. This was last used as a toll area in 1931, and it is maintained today as the only canal towpath in the United States of America that could be fully restored. And as you can see here, we have local projects. This is a major area for people to come and walk and bike and bring their pets. We have this project here on this bridge that has started to been restored. Local councilmen and some residents that cared enough to do this. It's little things like this up and down the path that could really spruce up the area and bring more and more people here to Morrisville, Pennsylvania, to this historic location. Good afternoon. We're here at another historical location in Morrisville, Pennsylvania, between the 2 bridges we spoke about in another segment, but right now we're here to talk about Williamson Park. First donated to the borough in 1918 by Henry Williamson. There's been a lot of history here. We're standing on top of this dike, was constructed in 1960 to stop flooding in the area. And speaking of floods in the area, we'll see in another shot that the pool area in the background was actually taken out of this park after it was destroyed by a flood. There's been a lot of good times here, but there's also been a lot of controversy of how we can utilize this park better for everybody. With that being said, we won the 1955 World Series, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, right here at Williamson Park. And to further elaborate, I have a special guest. We have a member of the Williamson family, Kurt Kelly, here to tell you about how the family history, what it means to him about this park, and how he feels revitalization and projects could affect this town and the people who visit Williamson Park. So Kurt Kelly, come on in. Tell the people at HGTV what you think.
Yes, how you doing? Yes, right across the street here, my great-great-grandmother, Sarah Williamson Kelly, lived, and she was, her nephew was Henry Williamson, who donated a big portion of this park to the borough. The history is the important thing. It's a shame to let that go, because if you don't know your history and you don't visit your history, it's hard to have a future.
Hello at HGTV, and welcome to yet another nationally recognized historical landmark site here in this 2-square-mile town of Morrisville, Pennsylvania. You've probably heard of William Penn and the infamous Penn's Landing in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But have you heard of Greystones here in Morrisville, the site of the very first land deal survey in Pennsylvania in the year 1682, right here under what was then a white oak tree. Just one more reason Morrisville, with a little revitalization, could be a destination spot. We're here now at the Morrisville Library. Morrisville Library System started in 1904 and was brought to this building here behind me in 1967. The reason we're here to include this as part of the HGTV makeover is because this library is desperately in need of repair and upgrades. The roof, that while they have obtained the grant, they need to match that grant to replace the roof, and it's just not in their budget right now, as well as general upgrades, carpet, that type of thing. This is an important part of our community as well as important to our children. So please consider this as well. Welcome to another and maybe the most important nationally recognized historical landmark here in Morrisville, Pennsylvania, and that is the home known as Summerseat, aka the George Clymer House, aka the Thomas Barclay House. This is the only home in America that was owned and lived in by two of our founding fathers, and those were, of course, George Clymer and Robert Morris. Additionally, Thomas Barclay once lived here, and he is known as the first man to sign a treaty here in Pennsylvania, and possibly the longest unbroken treaty in the history of the United States. As you can see, it's chilling to be here because this is truly a national treasure. But you can see looking that we could use some of the HGTV touch right here on the front of this building and around. This is, again, another destination that our town has to offer. Now, this ground that I'm standing on, now known as Patriots Park, for many years was known as M.R. Ryder Elementary School. Many residents here, including my wife, went to school there. But now, this land has been returned to Summerseat in the form of Patriot Park. And the question is, what can we do here to honor our founding fathers? Now, George Washington is known to have used Summerseat as a headquarters for battles, including the Battle of Trenton. And you can only presume that he marched 9 miles up the road to the well-known Washington Crossing, where they crossed over and made their way back down to Trenton. That time was spent here, I think it was 10 days spent here planning that battle, and you can only imagine what happened here on this very ground. So now that it's returned to Summerseat in the form of a park, we need to see what we can do to be fully utilized by Morrisville residents and our neighbors in other towns as well. All right, HGTV, now that we've been around Morrisville, Pennsylvania, we're back here at the Robert Morris statue. Now, I want to step away from the statue, and you're going to pan around and look at the other four corners, because one of the boxes that was checked on this application was a downtown area that needs sprucing up. Well, we're going to show you that we could use some sprucing up. We have the well-known Stockham building, built in 1911, but has been empty for 10 to 15 years. Multiple projects have been started to try to revitalize this building, and none has succeeded. Down the next row of street here, we have some very, very proud business owners, but there is nothing uniform, nothing that gives you that small town feel that says to these 89,000 cars that come through here every day, stop here, check out Morrisville. On the third corner over here, we have what served as decades as the local bank and then a larger chain bank, but for decades, the bank here, now also an empty building. On the fourth corner to my left over here, as you'll see still when we pan around, we have what used to be a rubber mill. Now, this building started renovation about 3 years ago, but could probably need some help crossing the finish line. But when you say a downtown area that needs sprucing up, well, here you are. When you say a town that has a lot of history, well, we showed it to you today. And you say a town under 50,000 people, we have under 10. So now that we're back here at the plaza, I'd like to bring in a few guests. First of all, let's bring in former two-term mayor, former council president, Tom Wisnowski, and let's get his thoughts on what this HGTV town makeover project could mean to Morrisville, Pennsylvania. Tom, your thoughts?
Brad, thanks. A Morrisville makeover, revitalization is everything, not to this town, but to this region. Morrisville is a Rust Belt town, and we are still suffering from the closing of the U.S. Steel Works. We're closing from the shift from an industrial society to a technological society. So we are ideally located. We have the best location of any of the river towns in the region. You can be in downtown Manhattan in less than an hour. You can be in downtown Philadelphia in less than a half hour if the traffic cooperates. We have the #1 highway, I-95, passing right through our town. But for some reason, we just can't get it started. Some of us have been working on this for decades, and we get a nibble of hope, and then something happens like a Great Recession in 2008, 2009, and that goes away. Things like that. We just can't seem to get out of our way. So to have someone from the outside come in and look at what we have and look at our potential would be just an amazing benefit to this town. Not just the people of the town. It would be an amazing economic benefit to this whole region to have Morrisville as vital as some of the other communities around us up and down the Delaware River.
Good afternoon. Hi, we're back once again, and this time I have with me local Morrisville Chief of Police, George McClay. Now, again, it says a lot that the chief comes out here on a Thursday afternoon to say how passionate he is about our town. So, Mr. McClay, we talked yesterday about the traffic through this town, the opportunity with 89,000 cars coming across these three bridges in this square, in this mile area up and down this road. So, with that traffic coming through, what do you see as an opportunity with this project of revitalizing this town square area, and in their own words, sprucing up our town square?
Well, you got to figure you got almost 100,000 people coming through every day, and they're coming through. They're not stopping. So we need an opportunity to attract them to stop somewhere. And that means revitalizing our restaurants and our storefronts that gives them the idea that this is a welcoming community and that there's a reason to come here.
Well, thank you very much. And again, we thank the chief for taking time out of his day. We're going to let him go. We know he's got important places to be, but stay tuned. We got a couple other guests coming up.
Hi, HGTV. I know that you probably have tons of submissions for your contest, but Morrisville is a town that really needs your help. Just this grassroots effort shows that Morrisville has very few and limited resources in order to start a project to rejuvenate its main street. We have people here that have been here for generations that love this town. They won't leave. And as you can see, our town just needs a little bit of help to get jump started and make it shine.
Welcome back, HGTV. I'm here and I am proud to be joined by Council President Ted Parker. Now, Ted, I know town revitalization is something that's always been on your mind. So one of the things they're going to want to know at HGTV is, will they have council support? What do you personally think of how this project could help Morrisville and what it could mean to us and our residents?
Absolutely, we'll have council support. I believe it'll just give us notoriety. I think it'll have people realize that Morrisville is a great town to come to visit, to see what HGTV has done here, and possibly think about moving here.
I think this is just proof, the people we have coming out on a Thursday afternoon, of how passionate and how much this would mean. So thank you so much, everybody listening. And remember, this is not just a chance to revitalize a small town. This is a chance to revitalize a piece of American history. So thank you.